record. Heather, hi.
Hi.
So I just want to introduce the two of us really to viewers. This is my YouTube channel. Let's Talk Together with Cathy. And I started a little series about creativity in grief. And I have my own story, of course. And this is my sister, Heather Potvin. And I'm in Canada. Heather's down in the States. And our husbands died within a couple of years of each other, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
My Grant died in 2019, and your Howie died in 21,
2021.
21. Yeah. Yeah. So it was, nobody ever expects this thing to happen, right? Oh, my Lord. Even though both our husbands were ill prior to their death, like I certainly never expect that was the last thing on my mind with looking after Grant, to be honest. But this is so I think creativity in the grieving process is really important, especially when we're in the early stage of grief. It's like we feel like it's never going to end. It's never going to change. We are never going to feel whole again, ourself again. And we do recognize that life will be different. We just don't know how it's going to be different. So, just a little preamble, and I'm Heather. Heather has has I shouldn't say chosen. That's the word that's coming to my mind. It's not really chosen. It's Heather expressed herself in creative ways in painting. I'm more of a wordsmith. And so when I had been writing poetry just kind of, as situations arose, no particular, I wasn't a poet in that sense of being kind of a formal poet. But when he died, oh my goodness, it's like the poems just flowed out of me. It was the only way for me to really express the inexpressible. I just, you could speak the words, but somehow poetry says things in a way that goes beyond words, goes beyond sentences. It just puts a feeling into a rhyme and a rhythm and a broader sense. Anyway, so that was that was my outlet to come to terms with what had happened in my life. After a time, I really don't write that much poetry anymore. So that need was expressed at that time. And now I've really turned more to writing, and I started writing a blog on Substack, and now I've moved into doing videos on YouTube. So that's been my progression.
For me, it
Heather,
was the opposite.
yeah.
I painted before I started painting about 10, maybe 11 years ago. And I painted images that I saw. And it started off as a social thing. I would go and hang out with the girls and sip wine and paint. And then I thought, well, I could do this myself at home. And so I started painting. And I'll show you a couple first.
Mhm.
We'll do this real quick. So this is one of the very first paintings that I painted. And my husband loved trees. So this is the first, and I'll give you the second if I can make this go
That is such
away.
a beautiful piece.
This is the second one, and this was taken from a photo.
I remember you showing me this as you were creating it, actually.
Yes, and I love this painting. One of the things that my husband and I would do is when we would travel, we would take pictures, and Howie, that's my husband's name, Howie would say, "You should paint this." And his thing was these wonderful gnarly trees. That was his thing. When he got sick, I was working on this painting.
Oh, yeah.
This is the last painting that I did before he got sick. Actually, it was the last painting I did while he was sick. And the last year that he was ill, I stopped painting.
Mhm.
And when he passed away, I couldn't pick up the brush. I couldn't paint. All of the images and paintings and pictures that I had taken all of those years, I no longer felt like I could paint.
Mhm.
So my creativity, I felt, died with my husband.
Yeah.
And I was in a support group,
Mhm.
a grief support group,
Mhm.
and they were talking about that in the grief support group. And one of the women, she said, pick up the brush. And I'm like, but I can't. I can't paint. And she said, no, you don't understand. Pick up the brush. It doesn't matter what you paint.
Mhm.
It's just that you start.
Mhm.
And that was about maybe if that definitely within the first year. So I know that in that first year, I was probably incredibly numb.
Mhm.
I didn't feel, and everybody goes through this process different. Um, so I'll show you you're going to see a difference in the paintings between the before and the after. So
Mhm.
this particular painting I just showed you
Mhm.
is unfinished.
Okay.
I haven't been able to pick up the brush and actually finish that painting. So
Okay.
it remains unfinished.
Right.
This next is the very first painting that I did after my husband passed away. So this woman says to me, pick up the brush. It doesn't matter what you paint as long as you start painting.
Yeah.
And so this is the one that I painted
Oh,
after my husband
yeah.
passed
Oh my
away.
goodness. Yeah.
It's very different, but it's that gnarly tree. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you can see it, but down here, right here is my husband.
It's not for me, it's not detailing all that well.
No?
No,
Okay.
it looks really just more like a
I don't know if I can make it
part of
bigger.
the, oh, there you
Does
go.
that help?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ooh, I love it.
So is it the little sort of gold image right near the tree trunk?
Right here by the tree
Oh, good.
trunk.
Oh, good. I see it. Oh, yeah. Thank you for pointing it out because I wouldn't have pulled that together. And oh, I do see, and I see his arms and his head
After,
and his legs.
and it's funny because after I had painted this,
Yeah.
I thought my husband needs to be here. If he were here, where would he be and what would he be doing?
Mm.
And so this is his outline, his aura, whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's that painting.
Can you go back to the mountain?
I probably can't because I
Oh,
X'd out of it.
oh, okay. They
I
weren't
know, like
like a
two
slideshow.
completely. I can pull it up. Give me a second
No,
here.
that's
Ha ha ha
okay.
ha.
That's okay. You don't need to because what I was thinking, Heather, was you said you painted that just before Howie died?
About a year before
Oh, a year before.
when
Yeah.
he got really, really sick, I stopped painting. And that
Mhm.
particular painting, the one with the mountain,
Yeah.
is actually a mountain between here and California that we would pass all the time.
Hmm.
And I loved that image.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to paint it and it was for us and it was very different. And I haven't been able to go back and finish that picture, which is
Mhm.
also, I would say, again, part of the grieving process.
Yeah.
It's like you do the things that you can handle and
Mhm.
manage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have to be okay not doing the things that you can't
Totally.
or you're not ready for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing that I have learned in the we're coming up for 4 years,
Hmm.
and to be okay with that. And that took a while,
Yeah.
but being creative, I think has really helped me with that.
Hmm.
So I want to show you my next painting
Okay. Yeah.
because this is a drastic change. This painting was done about a year after, maybe 6 months to a year after this particular painting.
Mm. Oh, Wow.
And I like this one because
Oh,
if you'll notice, if you know anything about art, that other picture was very dark.
yeah,
Although there was a light off in the distance,
yeah,
I was still in a dark place.
yeah.
This picture is much lighter. There's a lot of lighter colors, a little more pastel, definitely
Hmm.
brighter.
Hmm.
But this is my husband. He is my angel.
Oh,
And so I
boy.
painted that.
Yeah.
And then this next one, I want to show you real quick, and then I'll unshare my screen. This is me and
Oh,
Howie.
oh, that's so nice.
This is us when I get to join him, and because I know I
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Yeah, wow. So what does having this skill and being able to put it into a visual form, what does that do for you in your grieving process?
It's interesting because the transition from the paintings before and the paintings after, the paintings before were reproducing photographs, things that I had saw.
Hmm.
The transition happened, and I didn't realize it until, oh, I don't know, probably like this past year.
Hmm.
The transition was I went from reproducing to expressing.
Yeah,
And I think that's probably the key to finding a creative outlet, regardless of what it is.
yeah.
If it's playing in the dirt and gardening, that's a creative outlet.
Hmm.
If it's molding clay, that's a creative outlet. If it's writing poetry, that's a creative outlet. It's it allowed me to express the things like you said. It allowed me to express the things that were locked inside. And for me, looking back, it's really interesting to see the progression from that really dark space after he passed away and first painting
Hmm.
to these much lighter and brighter images. I will share my screen one more time because this is what I want to show too. Um, screen two, share it. Okay. Real super quick because I know that we're going to be close to time. They hang on my wall.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Lovely.
I hung them all up on my wall so I can see them as a reminder of where I am
Hmm.
and how far I've come in my own grieving, on my own grieving path, no
Yeah,
path behind me.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a very visual person, and so
Hmm.
those are the things that I see. Okay, now I can stop share. I did want to show you that.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Yeah. So important to have those reminders around us, I think. I have lots of pictures of my husband, scattered here and there, and it's not that I pay necessarily a lot of attention to them, but and I'm in a space that he was never in. It's my own
That's right, you moved.
it's my own place in a 55 plus building, but he's here in so many ways, that this is part of my life after being my husband's wife is creating this new life, coming to understand who I am. Like I don't your experience in life has been different than mine, Heather. I went from our parents' home to sharing a temporary residence, I guess, with some roommates to essentially being in my marriage home with my husband. And that's it, man. We were together 50 years. So oddly enough, this is my first experience of being on my own. And it has been a struggle. It has been a real excavation into my early life and my adult life with my husband and appreciating a lot of things that I didn't appreciate with him when I was living through it at the time. So, and I didn't have the anticipatory grief that I expect that you've been through.
When your partner is diagnosed with a terminal illness, it's a different process.
Yeah.
Um, we knew that he was going to pass away. We
Yeah.
didn't know when, but we
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
They had said from the very beginning, what he has is not curable.
Mm.
We can buy you some extra time,
Mm.
um, and all of those kinds of things. So somebody had said to me after he passed away, they said, "How long have you been grieving?" And I'm like, "Well, he just passed away." And they said, "No, stop
Right.
it." So in the case of those who, and this might resonate with somebody, when you have a partner who, in whether it's Alzheimer's or cancer or any other kind of terminal illness, the grieving process for the caregiver often starts long before the day that person passes away, especially when you know that there's no cure,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way to, and I'm simplifying. I really am simplifying
Yeah,
this.
for sure. Yeah.
I think finding a creative outlet even during
Hmm.
is really super healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think oftentimes caregivers forget that they have to look after themselves because they need their own energy renewed to be able to care for the loved one. And speaking for myself, it's just not something that even entered my mind. I was just doing, I was just looking after things one day at a time. Never even occurred to me that I wasn't looking after myself. Although I did talk to my sister from time to time,
We
and
did talk.
yeah, and I tried to, I don't know what I was trying to do, just talk to somebody who cared about what I was going through. It's not that my colleagues didn't care, but it wasn't their life, right?
Nope. Yep.
So yeah, so Heather, thank you so much. In writing poetry and creating paintings, the meaning of the piece, um, I mean, it probably rests with the creator. My poetry means something to me. Could mean something entirely different to somebody else, or may mean nothing at all. Who knows? But would you mind if, and I think that's true of your painting, would you mind if I gave you my impression of one of your pieces? But say no, and
By all
you would,
means, paintings like writing
yeah.
often is up to interpretation by the people who see them. So
But you
yeah,
may
it's
not
by
want to
all
hear
means.
what I interpreted.
I don't care.
So you know the one with the mountain and the road leading into the mountain?
Uh-huh.
That to me, you said you did that before he died? Yeah.
Before he got really sick.
Before he even got really sick. Isn't that interesting? Because knowing what I know now, of course, to me, that was like your journey into the abyss.
Interesting.
Because for me, when I looked at that, it wasn't a mountain. It was like this big, black, heavy cloud.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which is what
Very
really grief
interesting.
is. I mean, not that
That's
you were thinking about it at the time, I know that, but that's just what came to mind for me.
that's really interesting. Yeah, everybody looks at these paintings differently. The first painting, somebody came to my house and they looked at that painting and they were like, "Oh my God, that's just so dark and dismal, and that must be where you're at." And I looked at that painting, I saw the sun at the end of the valley is what I saw when
That
I
was your
painted
focus.
it.
Yeah,
That was my
lovely.
focus when I
Yeah,
painted that. So I saw the opposite of what other people saw. But, and it's up to interpretation. But if, I know we need to wrap up, but if I can say anything to somebody that is grieving, it is find an outlet.
yeah. It's totally important.
Being creative
Yeah.
is incredibly important in the, and I hate to say the word healing process because you know it, it's transition.
We could
There's
have a long
there's
conversation about that whole thing, which we don't have time for, but
we don't have time for that, but
yeah,
during this transition from what your life was before
yeah,
to what it is going to become now
yeah,
that your partner has gone,
yeah,
um, I think that it's really, really super important to find
yeah,
some way to be creative. It allows your body to process what has gone on and how you feel about it emotionally. And I think it's an incredibly healthy way to deal.
totally, totally. Yeah. So you have expanded your own being and your own place in the world by adding some extra um, modalities, I guess I would say that, to your world. And I will put this in the description under this um, podcast episode, your website, which is a beautiful website.
Thank you.
It is called Enlightened Passage. And it is Heather's own website, full of a lot of terrific information and an opportunity to pick up with her and maybe do a consult with her if that seems to be something that calls to you. So yeah, any parting words, my dear?
It is a journey.
Ugh. And nobody
100%.
can tell you how long that journey's going to take. No one.
Or what it's going to look like for
Oh
you.
no, exactly. Yeah. It's like every day, every week, every year is an adventure that you just yeah, you couldn't anticipate.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Thank you so much
Okay.
for allowing me to speak to your people.
Well, thank you for agreeing because, not everybody is comfortable doing this kind of thing, and so I very much appreciate it. Now I have to figure out how to, recording.
This